I'm Troy Germano, the owner of Germano Studios, The Hit Factory, and Germano Acoustics in New York City.
I'm Rajmund Stodolny from APS, co-founder of APS and managing director of APS.
Let's start with a bit of heritage and let's talk about background, because Troy, obviously from a very well-known musical family in the industry, and I think from 1975 been going.
Yeah.
Tell us about the early years. How did you get into the whole recording scene, and what were the formative things in your mind as a growing up with that?
As a young boy, still in grammar school, I worked for my father at the Hit Factory in the early days. He had acquired the company in 1975, and I started full-time in 1981, but part-time from 75 to 81. And at that point, we had 2 studios, then we had 3 studios, and eventually, by 2003, we had grown to about 22 studios between New York and Miami, excluding London, which we had here with Sony as a joint venture from 1989 to 1993. And that was on Whitfield and Gouge. That was the Hit Factory London. So over the years, I think we were known as a rock and roll R&B studio in New York. Probably the most famous record that we did in the very beginning that put the Hit Factory on the map was Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. He was supposed to come in for, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was he was supposed to come in for, I think, like 2 or 3 days, and he wound up being there 6 months. So it was actually a pretty cool experience. Yeah, that's while I was still in school. And then over the years, David Bowie, John Lennon, the Rolling Stones, Paul Simon spent a lot of time at the Hit Factory making their records, various albums during the course of their careers. And it's, it was always a fun place to be. And seeing that cutting edge kind of music being created was something that you don't see every day in recording studios. I think it comes down to the people more than anything else. We always had great people working for us, whether it was the assistant engineers, the receptionists, or the engineers themselves. And I think that actually helped keep the clients in the studios and build relationships and build engineers and mixers as time went by. People came there because they knew we had the cutting edge technology in terms of a recording studio, both in the analog world and then eventually in the digital world. So it's kind of a merging of both of those worlds. But it definitely came down to the people. That was the main thing. And keeping the clients happy, and always, every day they came in, you wanted to make sure they came back.
So, Ray, founder of APS, managing director currently and doing all this. How did your journey begin into designing monitors from the first
Well, actually, I was working for the big company called Tonsil, the Polish manufacturer of the loudspeakers and the speaker drivers and things like that. And after 2 years of working, I was the guy who was working with the investors from the stocks exchange. And of course, I was trying to find new funds for the Tonsil. So when the new investor came to the factory, then there was obviously factory tour. And I was one of these guys who was just working with the new investors. And I found out that there's a guy called Greg with the brilliant ideas of, new speaker drivers. It turned out that he designed the first Polish active studio monitor. So we decided to develop this product to show the investors that Tonsil, the company, is innovative, company. So after a few years, it turned out that this monitor was very successful on the market. But of course, the company had problems, and we decided to quit the company and continue the project outside this company. And of course, this is how it became, the APS, the first Polish manufacturer of the studio monitors. So even today, is the only monitor manufacturer of active studio monitors in Poland. So.
What are the main design fundamentals for you? What makes an APS monitor an APS monitor?
Yeah, we stick to the old way of designing the monitors. So it's flat frequency response, phase coherency, and class AB amplifiers. In the recent years, we added a very sophisticated crossover design to the classic and AEON2 monitors, and it seems very successful products. So we're gonna continue the new crossover design in the new products to come, like AEON 2020 and Classic 2020. So yeah, that's the main know-how of APS that we wanna develop and continue in the future. So.
And then there comes the point where the stories join, because obviously with the AEON2, an APS Germano Acoustics product, How did that collaboration start in the first place? How did you guys meet, and then what was behind the design of the product?
One of my engineers introduced me to Ray, really via the internet. That's how they had met, and that is how the relationship began. And it goes back to 2016,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Matthew Sim, who is from Hong Kong and has been an engineer of mine now for about 5 years, and a mixer, introduced me to Ray, and I met him for the first time where they had not ever really met. It was just really over the phone and on the internet. And we started demoing some of the AEON1s and the Trinities, and he approached me and said, would you like to design a speaker with us and have your own signature cabinet? And I said, yeah. So we did that for about 18, 19 months, and now the speakers are out a little more than 2 years.
Yeah.
I think we wanted something that was like a Yamaha NS10M, but a high-end version of that, considering the fact that they were hard to find those speakers, and there was a low-end aspect that was really missing in the Yamaha NS10M, and that seems to be the monitor that sits atop every production room, recording studio, pretty much anywhere in the world over the last 30 years. So we've really focused on that, and we have probably 40% of our clientele is hip hop, rap, trap music. So we wanted to be able to accommodate those kind of records being made on a daily basis. So we spent some time on this, and there was probably 4 or 5 different prototypes that went back and forth between Poland and New York City. And then we finally settled on a design that we felt Ray really nailed it to the point where we thought we had a product ready for production.
Actually, AEON2 is not a Mark II of AEON1. It's a completely separate product. So it's different product, designed from the scratch with the different assumptions and the different idea behind it. So the main difference is the crossover design. So you get the phase coherency much better than the AEON1. And of course you get better stereo image thanks to that. And of course we put a lot of attention to the components in the crossover. We match the components before we assemble the crossover. So it's a lot of effort and time we spend on crossover, and it's, that's why this product is so consistent, and it's the quality.
And smooth.
Yeah, smooth, and the
Really
quality
smooth
is
monitor.
much higher than the AEON1. So that's the basic difference between those two products.
And can you tell us a little bit more about components there? Because Seas, the Norwegian company, use that a lot. I mean, is there any more esoteric components, or what's behind the choice for Seas? Obviously, trial and error, but they've got a very good reputation in the hi-fi market as an audiophile product.
Yeah, the woofers they made for us are OEM products, so we just gave them basic assumptions, what we want from them, and of course they make prototypes, and after the several trials and errors, we just pick up the woofers and design the monitors based on the woofers. So yeah, the SaaS companies are very high quality manufacturers, so the consistency of the production line is very high. So you get, for example, 1,000 woofers, very similar in terms of frequency responses. So that makes the production much easier for us, because we don't have to measure each monitor so many times to make the changes in the crossover to get the final result, very similar pair of monitors. So yeah, the basic reason of choosing SEAS was the quality of the products.
Troy, what was the reaction to having the first AEON2s over at Germano? How did they go down?
Well, they've been sitting on the consoles now in Studio 1 and Studio 2. Each room has a 48-channel solid-state logic duality. So they sit on the consoles each day for every session for almost 2 years now. And I would say 70% of the clientele that comes in uses them. So, and we haven't really pushed them. We leave them on the consoles, and people use them as almost the de facto near field sitting on the console. And the feedback's been incredible. I mean, whether it's Kendrick Lamar, the Rolling Stones, Ellie Goulding, I can go right down the line. It's all different genres of music, and that's what the studios are based on. I mean, the one thing that makes Germano Studios, the Hit Factory, quite unique, similar to the original Hit Factory, is that we're a multi-genre studio, whereas most recording studios do one thing. They focus on rap, they focus on rock, they focus on jazz, they focus on classical music or film music or Broadway cast albums. We do all of that, and on a daily basis. And the fact that the reliability has been incredible, I think we've blown one woofer literally in 2 years. And considering the volumes that people listen, the level they listen to at the studios, that's remarkable. The clientele loves them. It's just, but it hasn't been a hard sell. Kind of let the speakers speak for themselves and let people use their ears and listen. And I think over time these will win. It's just going to take, you gotta be patient. That's the key thing.
So what does the future hold for APS Germano? What's in the pipeline? Where do you see things going, hopefully?
Ask this guy.
Right.
Yes, so the next step is the bus extender for the AEON2. So we decided to get the bus extender for the bigger studios in worldwide actually. So
which really gives you a midfield to some degree.
Yeah.
It's a three-way speaker at that point.
Yeah, it's not typical subwoofer. It's a part
Not
of
a
the
sub, right.
three-way system packed in the separate box. So when you buy the AEON2 and the woofer extender, you get the proper three-way system. Of course, you have to be very careful when you're placing the monitors. But of course, we just give the clues how to place the monitors and get the really nice sounding three-way system for the affordable price. So yeah.
And talk to me about the finishes, because it's really unusual in this day and age of mass-produced stuff to have this choice of custom finishes that you have.
I had always thought a Mercedes, Porsche, pearl white, sparkle kind of finish would be something quite interesting that no one's ever really done, as opposed to like a high gloss white. And of course, he has done them in other colors, even the AEON ones are initially. So we've kind of settled at this point on the flat matte black and the pearl white. But there's also other colors coming, and people have requested custom finishes, and I think that's a nice thing to be able to offer clients. It probably does hurt maybe the identity of a color related to the speaker, but I think at some point the right color will rear its head, and then we'll know which one to really be the one to stick with. But people do like that possibility.
Yeah, we work with two small paint shops, so they are very flexible, and of course, depending on the choice of the customer, we can just paint the cabinets in any color and actually any coating they want. So sometimes you can get the car lacquer, sometimes you get the Nextel finish used 30 years ago for the space shuttle cockpits, for example, just to doesn't reflect the light. So the funny part of this story is that this Nextel coating doesn't reflect light. So when we took the pair of AEONs to the photographer, he had real problems with getting the right image of the speaker because the light wasn't reflected from the surface. So it looked like flat, painting, no 3D image. So it took him over 1 day to get the decent quality photos of this. So it's
stealth monitors.
And we spent a lot of
Almost
time,
like this.
a lot of time on the phone discussing different finishes and colors, not just standard requests that people would make. And we're working on a couple of pretty cool things right now. We'll see, which ones come to fruition. But it's a constant conversation that we have between New York and Poland on a regular basis.
Most of the customers are certain about the finish, and they know what they want actually. So there is no problem. But the worst part is that the customer that doesn't know anything about what he wants. So it's talking over the phone about the colors is difficult. But of course, at the end,
it's the sonics. That's the main thing, obviously. Wow.
And that really is my last question on this thing. Opinions from both of you. What is it that makes an APS monitor stand out?
I think it's the quality, build quality, sound quality, and the customer service quality. So we are able to support the customer very quickly in case of any, very rare. Okay, it's a very rare case that anything goes wrong with the APS monitors. But if anything happens, we are able to support the customer within a few days. So it's very important for them, especially when they're in the middle of the recording session or mixing session. So yes, that's the customer service, and the how quick we can help is very important for the customers these days.
I think it's a sonic smoothness from top to bottom on the range of sound. And I think that's what we really tried to aim for, and that was the target, considering people that come in that are as picky as they are by us who make records. I mean, records of all different genres that we're proud of, but I think that's the difference. And for a small company, he does back that up. When you need something, it happens within a day or two. And I think that's an important thing, whether people are making records at home, and you can make some great records at home, or you're working in a major facility like my facility. So I think, being able to do that with those monitors, I think it achieves what the original goal was when he first said, do you think you want to build monitors? And I said, I think I do. And that's the whole purpose of the APS, the Germano Acoustics, collaboration.